Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey, everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese. Ghostly Tales from Liao Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you two short stories. The first story is titled Mountain Ghost. There was a man named Sun Tai who once told me a strange story. He said to me, "I remember my great-grandfather once shared an experience with my father, who then told me about it. Long ago, my great-grandfather studied at a temple called Liao Temple, located in the South Mountain. One autumn, during the harvest season, he left the temple to visit his parents and stayed away for more than 10 days. When he returned to the temple, he found his study room covered in dust, and spiderwebs were everywhere on the windows. He called the servants to clean the room, and they worked until late evening to make it tidy again. Finally, my great-grandfather sat down, opened his luggage, arranged his bedding, and prepared to rest. He blew out the oil lamp, and the bright moonlight illuminated the room. Even without a light, everything was clearly visible. My great-grandfather lay on the bed, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. It was deep into the night, and the surroundings were quiet with no sound at all. Suddenly, a strong wind blew outside the door, and right after that, there was a loud noise from the main gate of the temple not far away. My great-grandfather thought, "The monks in the temple must have forgotten to close the gate. How careless!" Just as he was thinking this, he heard the wind gradually approaching his room. A while later, his room door opened on its own. He was puzzled, and before he could figure out what was happening, the wind had already blown into the room. After the strong wind, my great-grandfather heard the sound of someone walking in boots. The sound got closer and closer to his bedroom from the study. Fear began to creep over him, wondering what would happen next. Then, the bedroom door opened, and my great-grandfather anxiously raised his head to look. To his horror, he saw a giant ghost hunched over, trying to squeeze into his room. The ghost quickly stood beside my great-grandfather's bed. Astonishingly, the ghost's head directly hit the ceiling beam. My great-grandfather looked up and saw the ghost's face, resembling a fully ripened pumpkin. Its two big eyes flickered around as if inspecting the surroundings. The giant ghost opened its enormous mouth, which was as large as a basin, and had only a few sparse teeth, each about 3 inches long. Its tongue moved in its mouth, making a hoo-hoo-hoo-a sound, and the sound resonated through the walls of my great-grandfather's bedroom. My great-grandfather was terrified. He thought there was barely a foot of distance between him and the ghost, and there was no escape. In this situation, he decided it was better to fight back and try to survive. He secretly pulled out a dagger hidden under his pillow and randomly swung it at the giant ghost. Surprisingly, the random swing struck the ghost's belly, making a sound like striking a stone basin. The ghost got infuriated, extending its huge claw to grab my great-grandfather. He moved slightly backward, avoiding the attack, and the ghost only grabbed the beddings. Without trying to grab my great-grandfather again, the ghost angrily left, still clutching the beddings. My great-grandfather fell on the ground as the beddings slipped away. He lay on the ground, afraid to get up, and called out loudly for help. The servants heard his cries and rushed in with lamps. They saw the room's door was still closed, so they opened the window and climbed in. When they saw my great-grandfather's condition, they were shocked. They helped him back onto the bed, and slowly, he recounted what had just happened. The servants searched the bedroom and study, and they found the bedding lodged in the doorway of the bedroom. When they opened the door and used a lamp to examine the beddings, they were astonished to find a claw mark on them, as big as a winnowing basket. Each of the 5 finger positions on the mark had 5 large holes, appearing to be claw marks. The next morning, my great-grandfather dared not stay in the temple any longer. He had to carry his books back home. Later, my great-grandfather went back to the temple to inquire if anything strange had happened again. The monks said that nothing unusual occurred. The second story is titled, Biting the Ghost. Once, a man named Shenlinsheng told me a bizarre tale. It happened on a hot summer day when his friend, an old man, was taking a nap inside his house. In his half-awake state, the old man saw a woman lifting the door curtain and entering. She wore white cloth on her head and was dressed in morning attire, heading straight to the living room. The old man squinted and assumed it must be a neighbor coming to visit his wife. But then he wondered why she would be dressed in morning clothes and why she barged into someone else's home like that. It was not normal at all. In a state of unease and fear, the old man saw the woman quietly entering his bedroom. He observed her closely and estimated her age to be around 30. Her complexion was sallow, with furrowed brows, and she had a frightening demeanor. The woman paced around the bedroom, refusing to leave, and slowly approached the old man's bed. He dared not get up and pretended to be asleep, sneakily observing her actions. After a while, the woman lifted her dress and climbed onto the bed, pressing down on the old man's belly as though weighing thousands of pounds. Though the old man was fully aware, he found himself unable to raise his hand or move his legs, as if they were tied down. Frightened, he tried to call for help, but no sound came out. The woman sniffed the old man's face with her nose, going over his cheekbones, nose, eyebrows, and even his forehead. Everywhere her mouth passed felt as cold as ice, and the old man suddenly felt a chilling sensation penetrating his bones. In this dire moment, he devised a plan. He waited for the woman to sniff the lower part of his face again, then seized the opportunity to bite her with his mouth. In a moment, the woman indeed sniffed near his cheek. The old man forcefully bit her cheekbone. He bit down hard, and his teeth sank into her flesh. The woman screamed and struggled in pain, but the old man refused to let go and bit even harder. Blood gushed from the woman's cheek, soaking the pillow and the bed. As the old man grappled with the woman, he suddenly heard his wife's voice from the courtyard. Desperate, he opened his mouth to call for help. The moment he let go, the woman swiftly and lightly fled. When his wife rushed into the bedroom upon hearing his cries, she found nothing unusual. She laughed heartily, believing her husband had just experienced a nightmare and was speaking nonsense. However, The old man detailed the strange incident to his wife and pointed to the bloodstains as evidence. Together, they examined the bed and found it soaked in blood, as if the roof had leaked during a storm. The old man sniffed the blood and found it extremely foul-smelling, causing him to vomit heavily. For days afterward, the foul odor lingered in his mouth. All right. That's all for today's ghostly tales. Mountain Ghost and Biting the Ghost. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode.